Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the City of LaGrange. We will begin with an invocation to be offered by Reverend Pete Shoger of Southcrest Church, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, God, we come to you tonight. God, just praying for this meeting. God, what's about to take place, the decisions to be made. God, the conversations to be had. God, I pray it's all done in the spirit of unifying our community and making it a better place. God, I pray with our mayor, our council members, all the civic leaders that we have in LaGrange. God, I pray that you strengthen them, give them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions. God, I pray that we use patience and understanding, because a job done well is more important than a job done. God, I pray you continue to be with them, guide them, bless their families, bless their communities they serve. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pete. Council members have all been given a copy of the minutes of our regular council meeting held on July 26th.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously. We are here tonight under public hearings to receive comments on a request for a special use permit at 124 Gordon Commercial Drive. Ms. Kelsey.
Yes, sir. This public hearing was properly advertised. We would take any comments at this time. Mayor, I would just note under 8D later in your agenda, this is an item that you will vote on tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kelsey. Is there anybody in council chambers who would like to speak on the request for a special use permit at 124 Gordon Commercial Drive? Okay, seeing none, I will declare that public hearing closed. We will move on to delegations. I have Mr. Forrest Johnson.
Good evening, Councilman, Mayor Thornton. My name is Forrest Johnson. I am here on behalf of the LaGrange chapter of the National Society Sons of the American Revolution. The Sons of the American Revolution is the largest male lineage organization in the United States, with over 500 local chapters and several international societies and over 33,000 members worldwide. SAR members include 16 U.S. presidents, U.S. senators and representatives, local business and community leaders, foreign dignitaries such as Sir Winston Churchill and Kings Juan Carlos and Felipe of Spain, and Henry Louis Gates Jr. The SAR seeks to remember our collective past by honoring those who served or assisted the American colonies during the war that made us a nation, to protect our Constitution and perpetuate American ideals, and to educate our youth about the Constitution and what it took to create it and has taken to protect it. The SAR also wants to ensure that this story belongs to every American, including the more than 5,000 currently known black and non-white individuals that fought for or aided the cause. The first proper flag representing what would become the United States was illustrated in the Boston Newsletter on January 26, 1707. Many flag designs later, including some that featured pine trees, rattlesnakes, and even a chicken. Betsy Ross's design was adopted on June 14, 1777 by the Continental Congress to represent the American colonies. The blue, that represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice, supports a field of stars that would eventually stand for each of the United States. The red stripes of valor and the white stripes of purity symbolize the 13 colonies that started it all. From then on, the stars and stripes have been instantly recognizable all around the world. No matter where one is, the sight of Old Glory flying free should swell the heart of every American citizen. That is certainly the case when one drives into downtown LaGrange from almost any direction. It is the American flag that greets them as it waves above our community. The United States Flag Code was written to provide rules for the flag's display and care. The code stipulates that the flag never be dipped to anyone or anything, that when a flag becomes tattered, it is to be disposed of respectfully, and that the flag never be used as a receptacle. It should never be allowed to touch the ground or anything beneath it. The flag should never be used as clothing or as advertising. The flag should be lowered at sundown or illuminated properly. For its adherence to this code, the LaGrange chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution wishes to honor the city of LaGrange, and I would like to present the city of LaGrange this certificate to recognize the city's commitment to proper display and care of the United States flag.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and we appreciate the information that you shared, and certainly appreciate you recognizing what the city staff does, and it is the staff. So I will pass the certificate to our staff, what they do to honor the flag. And you're absolutely right about it being such a prominent display as you approach LaGrange. So thank you for that recognition. We also have tonight, under delegations, we have Wanda Barrett.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Wanda Barrett. I come before you today asking that you all find it in your hearts to change the rule that disallows slabs to be put on the graves at Southview Annex. I lost my husband, Carlos Barrett, on November 17, 2021 to motor neuron disease. When I purchased his headstone, I was told slabs were not allowed in the cemetery. On July 14, 2022, I was led by God to visit my husband's grave, something that I don't do because it's too painful. While I was there, I discovered that his grave had been disturbed. Didn't sleep at all that night. Couldn't eat, just wondering what could have happened. The next morning, I spoke with David Satterwhite. After explaining to him what I had discovered, he told me that there wasn't any orders to dig in my husband's grave, but he would go check it out. He called me back a few minutes later and told me that the funeral home had buried an urn with someone's cremated ashes in my husband's grave, and that it would be removed by the weekend. And he told me that if it wasn't removed, that he would personally dig it up himself. Monday came, the urn still was there. I spoke with Mr. David, and I was told that it would be removed the next day. And he also told me that day that it was West Georgia Mortuary that had buried the urn in my husband's grave. Finally, after back and forth, many sleepless nights and loss of appetite, on Tuesday, July the 18th, 2022, the urn was removed. I had to relive that nightmare because I had to be there to ensure that they removed that urn from his grave. I had to watch them remove it and rebury it in another spot. Was very tough to go. Had to go on vacation, take my grandkids to Disney World, something my husband wanted me to do. I come back on Monday, July the 25th, to face my worst fear had happened again. The ground had caved in that same spot that they had dug. Having to deal with this and grieving at the same time has caused me anxiety, brain fog, loss of appetite. My peace and trust is just gone. On July the 27th, I called in and spoke with Ms. Sue Olson. She informed me that she had spoken with Chris Prather and that he was aware of the situation, but slabs are not allowed in the cemetery. I'm afraid that if I'm not allowed to put a slab on his grave, something like this will happen again. And I'm just not convinced. Well, I am convinced that this is not the first time, but I'm praying that it be the last time. I spoke with a young lady that stopped me about 2 Sundays ago. And she told me she saw me on the news, and she said the same thing happened to her. Her husband passed in 1992, and she purchased 2 extra plots for her and her son. And she said she discovered a couple years later that someone had been buried in her plot. And she informed me that it was the same funeral home, West Georgia Mortuary. I just don't understand how the city can allow them to do it. And I say the city because Mr. David told me that a flag has to go out. A flag was put out where the urn was supposed to be buried, but it had blew off. She was supposed to move that urn from my husband's grave that weekend, but he didn't put a flag out to that Monday. So if she were to remove that weekend, how would she know where to put it on that weekend, because the flag wasn't put out to Monday? And for the lady whose plot was used for someone else's burial, from my understanding, the city have to give you the plots and tell you where they are to be buried. So I just don't understand how that could have happened also. But I'm just asking you all to find it in your hearts to reverse that rule where slabs are not allowed, because I just feel like, from what I was told, Mr. David said it would throw off the maintenance schedule at the cemetery. They have to cut the grass anyway. I don't think it would take but a couple minutes to cut around the slab. They have to cut around the headstones, and it's something that I'm willing to pay for. I've already paid for the plot. I don't understand how it would hurt to put a slab on top of it, because I'm not going to be able to rest until I know his grave is protected.
Well, thank you, Ms. Barrett, for your courage in sharing the story, and we are very sorry for all that you have been through this ordeal. I mean, and certainly I think that we need to make sure that the city staff is aware of, not only they're aware of this issue, but also of the potential other issues with the one particular funeral home in question, and make sure that there's better supervision potentially in the future as it relates to their activities in the city cemetery. As I understand it, Ms. Kelsey, and I'll ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, the prohibition on slabs in the cemetery is actually part of our city code of ordinances and has been for some time. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's not within the purview of the mayor and council to grant an exception in one particular instance. What the council could consider would be changing the rule for the prohibition of slabs, but I think that the staff has recommended that we not make that change. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
And the basis for that is the maintenance and the grass cutting and so forth.
Well, from my knowledge of what I know, the grass is barely cut anyway. The cemetery looks awful. Flowers are just piled up in particular areas and have been that way for weeks. After the news station came out, someone did go out and cut the grass, but it's still not up to par like it should be. And I'm just not satisfied with maintenance being a reason for slabs not being allowed. And I just feel like it's something that could be done.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that concern with us, and certainly that's something the council can discuss. And if council members want to revisit that rule in the future, it would require a multi-stage process. Okay. Because the first step would be the council would have to ask the city attorney to prepare an ordinance. We'd have to have 2 readings of that ordinance. Okay. So it's a process to go through, but if that's something that the council has interest in pursuing. But again, the staff recommendation has been that we continue to maintain that rule.
Okay, well, I'll be staying in touch.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got a question. Ms. Barrett, have they got it straightened out now? I mean, as far as your grave site?
Yes, they did have it removed, but it's just still not
I mean,
enough
they
for
got
me.
the dirt back level and
It's
presentable?
not level like I would like it to be.
Okay.
It has caved in
It has sunk in?
afterwards.
It has sunk?
We'll have to
Yes.
get them back over
Yeah,
there.
we'll check.
And they
that out.
filled it back in, but it's still not to my satisfaction.
I'd like to make a suggestion. I know that we don't allow slabs, but I think there might be a remedy for this and a new procedure. Perhaps we can put a perforated plywood maybe a foot below the surface on all new burials. That way there is no mistaking, because if you're digging, you're going to hit a sheet of 2x4, a sheet of plywood. and the preparation would allow for the water to seep down through it, but there would be no more mistakes. And I think that sheet of plywood is, what, maybe $45?
Termites.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's
an underground
it's a
marker.
good suggestion, and I think we
I mean,
need
they
to,
could eat it up, but
yeah, it's a good suggestion. I think we can just refer that to the staff, to Mr. Satterwhite, and see if there are options like that. That would, that might work with the maintenance schedule.
And also, sir, I would just like to point out also when because I stayed there until they removed it, even though it was painful, I just wasn't going to be able to sleep till I know it was out of his grave. I stayed there until they dug it up and buried it in the other spot. The place where they dug it, reburied it, I just feel like it's still on someone else's grave. I have the video from when the guy was digging it up. He said he was hitting something. And I'm saying, yeah, someone else's casket, because all those graves are buried right next to each other. And
Well,
he
if
called.
you'll share that detail and concern with us, we'll get the staff to look into that.
Okay.
I mean, if you'll share that video with with the city manager, she can ask the sexton to investigate and see, make
Okay.
sure that was buried in a correct location.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barrett. We also, under delegations tonight, have Derwin Brewer. I'm thinking Derwin Brewer et al. I'm not sure.
Good evening. My name is Derwin Brewer. I'm a long time citizen of Troup County, and we just have a little bit of history that we have just made happen over March the 11th of 22. We was just chartered as a temple, and the temple name is Baghdad Temple number 104. We were just coming here today just to introduce ourselves and to let you know we'll be doing work in the community, and if you all should need us, we'll be much obliged to assist you in doing work in the community. My illustrious potentate, he was not able to make it, so that threw me in the hot seat, and I have with me my deputy of the Oasis, if you would like to say a few words.
Mayor Thornton, Council, good evening. My name is Darrell Dees. I am the Imperial Deputy of the Oasis LaGrange for Baghdad Temple number 104. And as our Chief Urban, Noble Brewer, said, we just wanted to introduce ourselves to Mayor and Council and let you know that there is a shrine temple here in the city of LaGrange. We are here to work with the community as well as with you, sir, and the council. So you'll see us around the community, from school book bag drives to mentorship programs to feeding the homeless and hungry. Anything that is of a need for us to do, we are here to do that. And as our chief said, we were chartered March 11th of this year under the Ancient Egyptian Arabic Order Nobles of the Mystic Shrine of North and South America and its jurisdictions incorporated, Prince Hall affiliate. Our imperial potentate is Noble John T. Chapman, and I work for him. So indeed, just want to introduce ourselves to you, to council, and to the citizens here at LaGrange, that we are here to help and to support. We thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on your new charter. And if you want to recognize the other members of the shrine who are here tonight, so thank you all for your attendance as well.
Can we get a picture of them in front of the podium? Can we do that?
We can, sure.
There's no need to put on a tuxedo if you ain't gonna show it off.
Where's the temple located?
Right now we're at 408. Yeah, that's okay.
It's like Mark's taking
I was fitting to show over here.
Where's your swap? Hey, look at Katie. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming and sharing with us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you around the community and all of the good work that you're going to be doing. So, yes.
We do a lot of fundraisers, and one of our biggest fundraisers is bucket drops. And I think at some point, well, years ago, I can't remember what year it was we was allowed to do bucket drops, and something happened to where it was banned.
Right. It's prohibited to do fundraising on city streets.
Okay.
That the council passed an ordinance several years ago to prohibit that. Yeah,
But you can do it in private parking lots.
that's correct.
Private park.
Yeah, if
If
you want
you have the-
Walmart or Kroger, any of those. let
If you have
do
their
it.
permission.
But you gotta be in their
With-
parking lot, not
with
on
their
the city
permission.
right away. Yeah, you gotta have their permission.
Okay, thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to petitions and communications, and I have a Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals recommendation on a request to rezone property located on Moody Bridge Road, known as the Newman property, with 3 different zoning designations from suburban single-family residential to traditional neighborhood residential, suburban single-family residential to traditional medium-density residential, and suburban single-family residential to traditional neighborhood mixed use. I'm assuming I'm gonna look to Mr. Costill for
That
this?
is correct, Mayor.
Okay.
He's on his way.
Mr. Costill?
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. As we discussed this morning during the work session, yesterday our Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals unanimously recommended that 3 rezonings take place in the 1500 block of Moody Bridge Road as part of a phased development project initially involving 236 acres. The subject properties are currently zoned as a planned unit development with an underlying zoning designation of suburban single-family residential. The applicant is proposing that roughly 124 acres be rezoned to traditional neighborhood residential, that approximately 33 acres be rezoned to traditional neighborhood medium-density residential, and that roughly 57 acres be rezoned to traditional neighborhood mixed use. If it's your pleasure to do so, the action item for this evening is to call for a public hearing to be held on September the 13th.
Call for public hearing.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to call for public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We also have a Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals recommendation on a request to rezone property located on Lucan Industrial Drive from campus general industrial and agribusiness to corridor mixed use.
Yes, Mayor. Yesterday, our Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals unanimously recommended that approximately 20 acres of property fronting both Lucan Industrial Drive and Edgewood Avenue be rezoned from campus general industrial and agribusiness to corridor mixed use. If it's your pleasure to do so, the action item for this evening is to call for a public hearing to be held on September the 13th.
Motion approved. Second. Motion to call for public hearing, sorry.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to call for public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And we have a Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals recommendation on a request to rezone 2457 Whitesville Road from Activity Center Mixed Use to Activity Center Mixed Use. Mr. Costill.
Yes, Mayor. Yesterday, our Board of Planning and Zoning Appeals unanimously recommended that approximately 1 acre of property located at 2457 Whitesville Road be rezoned from Activity Center Mixed Use to Activity Center Mixed Use based on a development agreement with conditions that is in place dating back to December 2013 involving this and other parcels along the Whitesville Road corridor. If it's your pleasure to do so, the action item for this evening is to call for a public hearing to be held on September the 13th.
Call for public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to call for public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously. And then finally, we have the consideration of the special use permit at 124 Gordon Commercial Drive, as to which we had a public hearing earlier this evening without any public comment. Mr. Costill, I don't know if anything you need to add to that, Mr. Costill?
I do not, unless the
Okay.
council has any questions. I'd be glad to
The special
entertain
use
them.
permit is before you.
I just make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the special use permit. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously. Okay. We will move on to reports. Do any council members have anything they would like to report tonight?
No report.
No, sir.
No report. None.
Okay. City manager report, Ms. Kelsey.
Just financial statements for July, as well as the payment of bills over $2,000 are attached to your agenda and material items. Don't have any particular comments. It is very early in our fiscal year.
Are there any questions for the city manager about the financials? Okay, we'll move to resolutions. I have a resolution accepting certain streets in Phase 1, Unit 2, Crossvine Village subdivision.
Mr. Mayor, staff would recommend approval.
Motion approved.
Have a motion and a second to accept these streets. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously. Related thereto, under first reading of ordinances, I have an ordinance naming certain streets in Crossvine Village subdivision.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of LaGrange to amend the code of the city, to amend the code so as to name certain streets in Crossvine Village subdivision, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to fix an effective date, and for other purposes.
And then under second reading of ordinances, I have an ordinance renaming a portion of Miller Street.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of LaGrange to amend the code so as to rename a portion of a certain street within the city as West Mulberry Street, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to fix an effective date, and for other purposes.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any questions for discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And that passes unanimously. And then we have a second reading of an ordinance clarifying the ABC card requirement.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of LaGrange to amend the alcoholic beverages ordinance to clarify that the ABC card requirement is limited to Class B licensed establishments, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to fix an effective date, and for other purposes.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That passes unanimously. Ms. Van Shore, would you like to close us?
Yes, sir. The good news for tonight, we're excited to report that the World Series Braves Trophy Tour at Sweetland over the weekend was a huge success. We have a lot of great community support. We have a video that we did create from the weekend from our marketing and communications department called The Festivities, and we'd like to share with you that video right now.
You know, there's something about the sport of baseball that runs deep in the heart of Americans.
We're so delighted that the Atlanta Braves chose to come to LaGrange, Georgia for the Trophy Tour.
And so we're excited that this championship is back in our state. Go Braves!
Well, thank you, Ms. Van Shore, and it certainly was a fun afternoon. Appreciate all that you and the staff did to make the event happen. We stand adjourned.